So in
man.
SCR 2014, if that moment didn't happen for Snake Eyes, would Snake Eyes have been really that made or really that as popular as he was? Potentially, but I would argue that was Snake Eyes' defining moment, is making that 5v5 and having that regional rivalry of NorCal versus SoCal. Him making that comeback, we were getting owned, and him making that slow comeback up. That would define him as a player, and that could happen for anyone in this exhibition, really.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday Show, the show where we discuss all things about the MCU and Marvel movies and aspects of, politics and governments involved.
Kings can hawk off. Can you believe that there's royalty in the MCU you're supposed to like? Absolutely not. No thank you.
Hey, most people all agree that Killmonger was right, okay? Most people agree Killmonger was right. Anyways, sometimes we segue off into these things called fighting games or something like that, but I guess today is just going to be one of those episodes where we talk mostly about fighting games, but I am joined by Mr. UltraDavid and TuboWare. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm currently 3D printing right now. What about you, TuboWare?
I am currently thinking about, I am now scared that Multiverse of Madness is not going to be good.
Oh no, that was a.
I mean,
not
now. Like I mean, like I think it'll be good. I'm not sure though.
Okay.
I'm just not sure. Like I was pretty sure Spider-Man was going to be great. I'm not so sure about this film.
I mean,
well, you were right about the one.
Like outside of like Black Widow, right? Like recently, they've mostly been hitting. I mean, I guess some people wouldn't like Eternals, right? So a lot of people.
I thought it was not great.
Yeah. I thought it was nice.
I thought.
All right.
Eternals is definitely a David movie, but like I said, today is a fighting game day as opposed to discussing the MCU. So
I've never talked about the MCU in my life. What we're going to talk about today is NLBC. The online version's ending. We're going to talk about Combo Breakers, a couple of announcements, including Look Alive. We'll have an interview with Filipinoman where we'll talk about a bunch of stuff, but also the West Coast versus the Midwest. We'll talk about EQNX and its changes. We have a couple of other news tidbits for yous. We have our 5-5 matchup, of course, and then we'll get to our mailbag. But let's start with NLBC Online.
Sorry, I'm trying to turn up the volume. Thank you for the mic test, Tubo. There you go.
Is that what that was? The mic test?
I guess so. Here we are. So, Spooky, aka Mr. Victor Fontanez, has announced that he is going to be ending NLBC Online. He's going to still keep doing offline events, of course, but the online event is ending. Seemed to have been spurred on by a little bit of, I don't want to call it drama, but misunderstanding and frustration.
A little bit of drama. This is the drama show now, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Give me what it takes, James.
This is an unfortunate situation. So, basically NLBC has been restricted to only certain areas, largely East Coast, and more Northeast, just so, connections can have better quality. Texas was not included as a part of that scene. However, Brian F., who used to play in NLBC from Florida and such, when moved to Texas, did some special exhibition and his connection was found to be okay. So they let him play in NLBC, even though he's from Texas. Same thing with Prototype. I don't know what the backstory of Prototype is and how he was included into the whole entire thing. But Prototype and Brian F. are the only ones who are allowed to play from Texas in NLBC. Other players in Texas found this a little bit frustrating and kind of unfair. And one of the players, which was Toy, decided to enter and list himself as being from Louisiana. I mean, he's on Team GOL, Gods of Louisiana, right? So, he listed him there, but then Min, who does all of the TOing on the Discord, then made Toy do a connection test, and it was revealed that he was living in Texas, not in Louisiana. So Min just completely he just ejected him out of the tournament. He just banned him from the tournament, and this got a lot of the Texas players angry. Saying like, well, why can't we have good connections like Brian F? And a lot of people mostly directing their frustrations with Min, because now all of a sudden all these other cases of Min, exerting his TO privilege on other people in Discord and such started cropping up. And all of this, I guess some of it just kind of, started going a little bit crazy, spooky, kind of started catching some of the,
A little bit of the heat.
A lot of
Residuals.
what is that? The phrase, the collateral damage, essentially. And, being a TO, running this thing every week for multiple games, spending all your time doing that is really tiring. And so I think it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And Spooky just said, I'm done. And that was it. That's the end of NLBC Online for the foreseeable future, except for Soul Calibur, because it's largely run by somebody else. But everything else is gone. And so a lot of back and forth from people on whose fault it is and, who's to blame, et cetera, et cetera. But what do you guys think on this?
Well, I just want to say, as sort of a grounding, if you're not as familiar with this somehow, NLBC Online has been happening 5 days a week for the last 2 years. It's been an extreme amount of work that not just Spooky, but Min, and I don't know if anybody else is involved, but I'm sure a tremendous amount of work. It has been a full-time thing, ton of time that gets sunk into that. And my understanding from when Vic put up a twit longer is that it's probably not a lucrative thing. It's very rare that TOing is, even if you have a popular stream while doing so. So I just want to have that here as the sort of background, because I think that the decision to end it does not seem to me like it's a mere spur of the moment thing where it's like, oh, this particular individual day was so annoying.
Right.
More that that day was annoying, but it comes on the heels of just a lot of work and having a lot of expectations and pressure on you. And so I totally get not wanting to do that anymore.
Yeah, again, that's kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back kind of, thought. And also, in case you guys aren't aware, and I'm sure you guys are, if you're watching our stream, you probably know this already, but NLBC Online is like the online tournaments, right, in North America. If you are anything worth your weight, you're trying to win in NLBC Online. It's where players Rushdown, have made a name for themselves by being largely online players. Obviously IDOM and Punk have played offline and done well, but NLBC Online has really brought forth a lot of newer players. And in fact, for games like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, it's where I first started hearing about players like Tempest, like Diaphone, etc., who are now just regular household names for the games that they play. So
yeah, and as if somebody is not familiar with Min, I see many people talking about it in the chat, but he is a longtime member of Team Spooky. He's been an extremely key part of the FGC in the Northeast and just in fact, tournaments all around the country for a long time. I don't know, 20 years, a really long time. He's been doing TO work. He does stage managing at events. He's had his hands in all sorts of different stuff. Mm-hmm. And over the last couple years, he's been, as we were saying, helping to run all this online NLBC stuff going on.
That's right. So,
all right.
Again,
background set.
Yeah. So now, what are your thoughts on this, David and Tubo? What's your opinions on this situation? Do you feel like there's a right and a wrong? Do you have a side, or is this just one of those
First and foremost, this Min guy, I don't know who he thinks he is. How dare he say anything to anyone about anything at all ever on Discord once ever? And personally, I'll fight him right in his face. That's what I'll do.
Okay.
No, Min is great. He was very. Do we have a screenshot of what he said? I don't know if you have that ready or not, James. But if you do, then never mind. Min was just blunt, and a lot of people don't
Yeah.
like blunt interactions. They want niceties. And Min is running a tournament, one of the biggest online tournaments.
Yep.
You're gonna be blunt with people. From what I saw in the screenshots, and if you guys really want to find them, they're out there in the Twitterverse somewhere at this point. It looked like Toy asked, "Why can't I enter if these guys do?" Like, or I think you said, "Can you tell me why I can't enter when these other guys do?" And Min said, "Nope. But if you want to enter another tournament, you can." And that was it. That was the end of the interaction. Is, "Can you tell me why?" And Min said, "No." Moving on. Like, you're not in the tournament. No, I'm not going to explain myself. I don't have to. Have a good day. And I don't think Min was wrong in doing that. I understand why people want the niceties and want politeness, and I get it. I understand that side too. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I do think it's whack to let people in the tournament that aren't supposed to be allowed. However, I understand Brian's situation. He had already been playing in that tournament for a very long time and competing with those guys for a very long time. And his connection was fine. I don't know what the situation was it Pro something or other? The Alex player, what's his name?
I thought it was
Prototype,
Twisted Rivera,
Prototype,
but James said it's
Prototype.
Prototype.
Twisted Rivera. That's what
was it Twisted Rivera, not Prototype?
That's what I thought.
Is that who it was? I don't know, man. Whatever. It's an Alex player. That's what I know from
Okay.
Texas. How about that? I don't know what the situation to let them play. It was Twisted.
Oh, it was Twisted. Okay, got it. Sorry, that's my bad.
I thought it was Prototype too. That's on me. Either way, I don't know what the situation was, but I'm sure that there is some Brian F type situation going on there too. So, like, whatever. And also, it's their tournament. If they want to allow people in it, they can. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. And, like, at the end of the day, it's their event. And they're not really breaking any, like, bracket rules by doing that. It's their own. If they want to say only people in the 89123 area code can play, then they can say that. And whatever area code Brian's in, well, then they can just add that to the rules. It's their event. So, sucks to suck, I guess. Like, be mad about it, but that's not, like, Spooky or Min's fault, really. I don't think they're at fault here. I think they've been doing mostly a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, my view is, I guess, somewhere in the middle. I mean, obviously, all props to Spooky and Min. Been friends of mine for the last, I don't know, a dozen years, probably, maybe longer. I guess actually longer. Weird. I'm old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a lot of appreciation for them. I also think that NLBC had gotten to a point where it was viewed as something prestigious to be a part of. It was a big event in the scene every week. This is not just the case for Street Fighter, but maybe especially Street Fighter, and that's what we're talking about with this situation. So having awareness of that, the expectation that other people would have is that it would come with the same kind of impartiality that you might expect with some more faceless situation where you don't necessarily know the people who are doing the things, and where you just kind of have the expectation that, like, everything is going to be according to some fair, in your mind, rule book. And you're right that is not something that Spooky and Min owe. They're not obligated to do that. But that is nevertheless a pretty reasonable expectation, in my opinion, that people would have about this situation. And so when somebody is allowed to get in, and many other people are not, I totally get being mad about it.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think that sucks too. But also, just.
I mean, I wouldn't be a big jerk about it. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably where sort of my position stops. I'm not going to be a big jerk. But I know that that's not how other people handle situations. So the fact that there was jerkery is not a big surprise to me.
I mean, also, just to be fair, I don't want to necessarily call out what a lot of the people doing were just absolute jerkery, because obviously frustrations, emotions, et cetera. I just don't want to make it sound like it's particularly one side being mean or the other, or whatever.
Well, I mean, they weren't being intentionally combative. Well, I don't know if even that's fair, but yeah, they were definitely frustrated, of course.
Yeah.
And it's not for them. I imagine it's not just this single thing that caused them to get angry as well, of Toy trying to get in when he was saying he was from Texas or in Louisiana, even though he was currently in Texas. Instead, it's a longer term thing for them too. I'm sure that they had been talking about how Texas players aren't allowed, but Brian is for a while. Like that's probably not a new complaint that they have had. So I imagine that for them, it's probably an ongoing sort of thing too. And this for them too was like finally the straw that broke.
Not to mention, it probably stings a little bit more that Brian came from out of state and is now in their state. It's not allowed to play. Like that's definitely gotta hurt a little bit. Well, I'm just saying it wasn't like Brian was already there. And like, oh, we'll make the exception for the top player. It's like this guy from out of town came to our state, and now we're not allowed to play here, and he is. Like, I understand. Like,
I took back the line about not being intentionally combative, but yeah, I do understand them being frustrated, and I think many people would be frustrated in that situation. It's just a different perspective on this same event. For the one side on Spooky and Min, it's something that they run, and it may not feel like it's such a big deal to them, and or they have the right to do whatever they want with it. Ultimately, right? It's their event, which I think is all a totally reasonable and understandable perspective. And then on the Texas players' side, I also totally get why they would feel that this event should be a more sort of impartial event that just has a rule book that they abide by, and that is important to be able to get into because it has so many eyeballs. I mean, honestly, people watch NLBC. There is a significant prize pot, especially in comparison to many of the other weekly things going on these days, especially online. And if you do well, it's not just about getting the money. It's about comparing yourself against these really, really super strong players in that scene, as well as having the notoriety that goes along with it, which could mean money. I mean, it could be you join a team or not. Like it could have a real impact in some ways. So I get why they are frustrated as well. It's just two different sides on this thing, and I think both kind of have understandable perspectives, to be honest.
Yeah. One thing that I will add is from 16-bit in the chat, who says that there's definitely this idea of like, oh, anyone can enter. Obviously, net play is one thing, but the main point that 16-bit pointed out was that with the Capcom Pro Tour talking about doing dojo-esque events, NLBC probably will be one of those events that will grant points, and not having access to it will be frustrating. Now, obviously, with Wednesday Night Fights, I'm pretty sure they include Texas, so you can play from Texas. And so there's two things, right? One, got to do Wednesday Night Fights. Biggest problem with Wednesday Night Fights is it's run super late. And so a lot of players in Texas will be up later, and they just simply can't do it because that tournament might run until like midnight for them, and they need to get up for work the next day, kind of situation. So harder to do. But, and again, this is not me calling anyone out. This is just me suggesting this kind of thing. You know what? Fuck Texas. No, I'm just kidding.
Put that.
Look,
just that part out of context.
I mean, you could apply that to so many different contexts and actually have it be okay. So,
that's our YouTube intro.
Yeah. Oh man, look, I've been saying this to Texas for years now, over a decade, but I'm just not sure why, and this is even before online play was a thing, is I'm really not sure why there isn't a Texas league. Just like,
nobody's going to do a league. I don't know if that's reasonable to
right. But we're in a situation right now where we don't need to do a league like that anymore.
Just run a tournament.
Just run an online tournament. Exactly. This is my point.
And there are online tournaments.
Right, but like, what is like?
What Spooky has is notoriety. He has
right.
He has the stream that everybody watches. He has the players in New York City who are not just in NYC, but some of the best players in the world, not even just NA. And that's just not something you're going to get in many other places. Eyeballs and competition. And those are things that people want. And as well, like I said, in part because of those two things, bigger prize pots.
Yeah, and even as a result, even like Wednesday Night Fights isn't even remotely as prestigious as NLBC is anymore, right? It just doesn't get the same kind of association with it. I feel like it's still greater, but still not quite to that level. But I frankly, I think. I feel like that they might be able to do more for promotion, and obviously with players, there's a lot of good players. There's a lot of good players, around. Obviously, sure. NLBC has some of the best. It's where you're going to get IDOM, right? But if you're running a tournament in Texas, for example, you can also invite Florida people. That would put Smug and Punk into the tournament as well. You could probably stretch out to SoCal as well and get some of those SoCal players. Sure, you're not going to get the Chris CCHs up in Pacific Northwest or anything like that, and you're not going to get the New England people, but, spread it, open it up to a lot of people. And again, I'm not saying this is easy to do, but I'm just saying, like, this is something to look at and to start trying to build from this point forward. It's, not trying to say Min is right about this, but it's like, Spooky did build this over. It's basically, I'm not saying try to make Justice League as your third DC movie as opposed to waiting until, like, actually establish everyone and make the Avengers so it actually, the payoff is there. Don't make the Justice League. Like, take your time, but I feel like it's something that's worth trying to build up and, talking with people and trying to help get some promotions and get some exhibitions, show a lot of highlights, tweet about it, give it a nice, super official name, et cetera, et cetera. I just
there are people who are doing that stuff and have been doing that stuff.
Okay.
And you're right that Spooky built up NLBC. It didn't pop out of nowhere, of course. There's a tremendous amount of work that went into that. There's also a lot of luck. He's in New York, and as a result has these players that everybody wanted to watch. He did it right at the beginning in a way that has allowed his stream to grow with much more time. And, at the beginning, when there were really just a few big streams in the whole, honestly, world, he had this lucky spot. So it's really hard to reproduce things like that. And I know that there are people in Texas doing that kind of stuff. I hope that they continue to do that stuff. I also understand why the players would want to be part of something that they view as bigger and more prestigious. Again, I also understand why Spooky and Min would feel that they can be selective about who they allow in their event, even when it breaks some other rule that has already existed. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel like there's particularly somebody who is all the way in the right, and I don't think that everybody is screwing up. A lot of people are trying to do the right thing. It's just it's a tough situation, I think, to be in general. I also very briefly want to say that I have seen too many takes that this is some death knell for the FGC, and I think that is very absurd. NLBC has been a great stream online. I've watched a lot of it myself. We'll be fine. We'll be completely fine. Spooky will do whatever he wants to do, and will enjoy himself, hopefully more, and will hopefully have success in doing it. And we'll be completely fine, everybody. Don't worry about it.
Thanks for watching. We had a good run.
Yeah, there are way too many takes out there like that.
Honestly, though, this would be a great opportunity. I know, Muffin Man is saying it in kind of a more dramatic, jokey kind of fashion, but this might be a good opportunity to promote yourself now that NLBC is gone. So now that NLBC is gone, this might actually allow for other streams to pop up and really kind of try to take the limelight a little bit more. Again, like the Texas ones that you mentioned, right, David? It sucks. I don't know what they are. Like, which events are they?
Oh man.
And this is the problem. This is the issue, right?
Yeah, of course.
The Texas one. Well, yeah, but David kind of explained all that, man. Like, you don't have Punk playing there every week. You don't have IDOM playing there every week.
Now
you don't have the production quality that Spooky has. It doesn't matter that now that NLBC's gone, you're not going to be able to grow overnight just because of that. That's
yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, there's an ability to try to work in a little bit of that promotion now. You know what I mean? I think it's just a good opportunity.
If you weren't doing that for years before today, it's not going to work today.
Well, because the problem with
it is, they should continue doing it. Of course.
I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that that's true, Tubo, because one of the things that does happen is burnout, right? So most people are going to be like, I'm going to watch one major tournament a week. You know what? I'm going to watch NLBC. now that NLBC is not around, I just feel like that there's a little bit more ability for some of the other ones to grow. It's just like when Street Fighter V came out and, had a disastrous launch. Like, that's kind of one of the things that helped Tekken become bigger in the FGC for a period of time, and other games to really just come out and shine. Now Street Fighter is not anywhere near like the big fish. It still is the biggest game in the FGC, but not by as much. And nowadays, if Street Fighter disappeared, if Street Fighter 6 comes out and it's just the worst game ever, like, the FGC is going to be fine. We're in that position now. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from. That's all. I'm not saying, like, why haven't you done it? You guys suck. You're not trying. I'm just saying, like, this might be a good opportunity to really kind of make a push for it. That's all.
Got to keep it up. You got to have luck and you got to have hard work. That's how success happens.
Got to keep it up.
Yep.
You can't do it without one. You can't do it without both.
Got to keep it up.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Come. Got to keep it up.
Up next, some combo breaker news. They have announced that there is going to be another Look Alive. Do you guys remember this that they did last year? The whole bunch of.
Did. I was part of it.
Yeah. Was I? I think I watched, but I really enjoyed it. Was I?
Allowed.
Was I in it?
Didn't you do MK stuff?
I did do MK. Yeah.
You're banned.
I'm pretty sure. No, I
Banned this year.
Anyway, it was a blast. There was a bunch of commentary and sets for a bunch of different games. There were lots of skits and funny stuff going on. They were selling things.
Music segments.
Music, yep. It was a whole potpourri of fighting game and fighting game adjacent
A cornucopia, if you will.
A whole cornucopia, smorgasbord. Yeah, it was great. It was great. I loved it.
All
honestly.
you can
it was a
eat
fun
buffet.
couple of days. Yeah. So that's going to be coming back, and it's going to have a lot of people involved. First of all, I should say April 18th through 22nd. So that will be, is that this weekend?
A 4-day event.
Yes, it starts on Monday. Excuse me. So check that out. And it's going to have 84 players, 25 organizers, 25 creators, 48 commentators, 5 DJs representing 18 different countries. Yeah.
David,
and that will be on
48?
twitch.tv/Sajam. The old Sajam channel.
Oh, dang, they're just streaming it straight up on Sajam's channel, huh?
It's
Nice.
Sajam's channel. Sajam presents Look Alive. Eat it, Rick. I stole your brand.
That's genius, by the way.
That's great,
right?
yeah.
It's one of those things. It's hard to build up, the stream where everybody watches it. So Sajam's already got that brand. He's got the viewership when that shit goes live.
I think the plan is he does his normal stream, and then at like 7 p.m. or 5 p.m., whatever the hell time, he just switches over to Look Alive. Boom, Look Alive is on.
Awesome.
So it's not going to be
okay. Is in there when Look Alive starts.
Gotcha. I mean, that sounds like the best way to do it, to be honest. So,
James, are you one of the 48?
Commentators, are we allowed to say this? Are we allowed to discuss
I don't know, but you just gave it away right now. David was straight faced. He was like, oh, I'm not giving away anything. James goes, wait, can we say?
I mean, I know if I'm not doing one of the games, I can definitely be like, am I allowed to say I'm not doing any of the games? Right?
Yeah, but would somebody who didn't work on something ask that question?
Confirmed.
Yeah,
That's not
confirmed, James.
Okay,
Leak.
for most people, it's
over. Your whole career is over.
For most people, that is true.
NLBC
but I am so empathetic and genuinely concerned about other people, and I'm always worried about other people so much that if I'm not doing it, I would still not want to say if I'm doing it or not, as to not spoil it, because that is the kind of kindness and genuine love that I have in my heart for all
credit
of the
to this
FGC.
ass backwards explanation you just gave. I did ask Esteban to come on the show tonight, and Esteban said, no, I have too much shit to do for Look Alive still. So, they're still editing and stuff. Maybe James isn't actually part of it. Maybe James still has to record his stuff. Who knows? They're still working on it.
You're telling me it's not going to be live, TuboWare?
It wasn't live last year.
Not live, yeah. No, look, I love that this is the kind of thing. I hope it will just be a yearly thing, last year in lieu of having an in-person combo breaker is like why I thought that it was happening, but maybe it's just a cool idea or maybe that was why it originally happened.
That was the original idea, and Rick was like, I like doing it, so he
All
did
right,
it
so
again.
all right,
Awesome. I hope to see it next year. It's really fun.
So am I doing it is the question. I think, Tubo, that the correct question is actually how many different games am I doing?
Okay.
Considering there's an even amount of commentators, that would mean that you wouldn't be able to overlap unless there's other people also doing more than one thing.
However, there are 84 players and only 48 commentators. Does that mean that there will be many commentators who do many different games?
There could be many overlaps, or there could just be 2 sets happening per commentator.
Totally.
Who knows?
We'll have to find out.
Find out on April 20th.
18 through 22.
18 through the 22nd. There you go. That's what I said the first time.
So yeah. I didn't read the tweet spiel. Let me just say our 5-day fighting games mashup features money matches, documentaries, interviews, magic tricks, game shows, music, skits, and more. That sounds so cool. Yeah, I'm happy, man. That sounds like a blast.
Magic tricks. I just I don't think of Rick, who's just sitting in there like in all black with a black denim jacket on, his hair, like his beard braided like a warrior, black hat, black everything, and then he goes, "You know what I want? Look alive. I want a magic show. Like it doesn't have a bouncy castle. Like, it just doesn't. I don't imagine.
Who is going to reject magic, dude? Magic is like the coolest thing, dude.
Everybody likes magic. Dude, everybody's into magic.
If David likes magic, everybody likes magic. Okay?
I like the popular things. I'm a popular thing kind of guy, James.
I'm not a magic type of guy.
You're a popular thing
and hand tricks.
You know what's popular, David? Rivalries. That's what's popular.
I don't know what you're talking about, but maybe we'll find out in a little bit. Yeah, all right. Anything else to say on Look Alive Round 2?
Watch it.
Yeah, watch it. Twitch.tv/Sajam. And drinking game. Every time you see me on the stream, take a swig. Ooh.
Well, I'm not going to be able to watch much of it. So,
damn. All right, and then the other thing about Combo Breaker is that they announced.
Could be Raz.
Yeah, one beer,
one drink. That's it.
One sip. Yeah,
one sip over 4 days. You're killing people, James. You're killing people.
Exactly.
That actually could almost make me hungover nowadays. Combo Breaker news. In addition to that. All in together, the community tourneys at CB 2222. Yeah, it sure is. And another 28 open bracket tournaments. 28.
Yep.
A huge amount. So in
community
total,
ran, by the way, not ran by official staff. Well, I mean, some of the guys and gals are probably official staff at Combo Breaker as well, but it's all community ran. So if you want to play Marvel Infinite, you got to find Jaco Man. Well, you have to sign up on Smash.gg and then find Jaco Man at Combo Breaker.
I see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is being done by people from the community, but like at the same time, it's semi-official at Combo Breaker. There's actually. Well, Combo Breaker itself, I guess, is not running it, but they are giving a bunch of space to the people who are running it.
Official, non-official.
Sort of coordinating it.
They've done this in the past. I mean, the previous Combo Breaker had that extra room. That's where MVC2 and TMNT Tournament Fighters and Super Turbo and Vampire Savior and Alpha 2 and Alpha 3 and Sailor Moon, all that stuff was being run over there in that other room. So I'm sure it's just going to be kind of the same thing, but on a more official capacity, maybe almost, akin to, what Anime Evo used to be at Evo. Now a Vortex Gallery is for Evo.
So there will be a total of 53 open bracket tournaments. Jeez. 53, including the official ones the Combo Breaker itself is running, and then including these community run events as well. So, man. A lot of stuff going on out there at the Combo Breaker this year.
Big for Lil, Skullgirls is not a retro game, okay? It just had season 1 come out, mind you. Just
Brand new game.
because we just had a FG Anniversaries talk about its 10th anniversary doesn't mean that it's a retro game. Season 1 just came out, okay? All right.
Yeah.
Listen, man, retro games get support. StarCraft got a patch after like 10 years or something, didn't it?
Yeah.
Not to balance, but to other stuff, yeah. All right. Yeah. Anything else to say on this?
No, nothing comes to mind. Just
All right.
watch
Well,
it.
look for me in Look Alive.
Wow, another leaker.
Dang.
However, I didn't do any commentary. I'm just messing around.
I don't believe you.
Or am I?
I don't believe you.
Woo! Now you don't know who to believe, me or not me.
Man, what a mix-up. Oh, God, it's almost as effective as his
50-50.
fighting game mix-ups.
Yeah,
Not
that's
at
right.
All right, moving on.
All right, yeah, moving on, I guess. Looking forward to Combo Breaker
Let's
again.
go on break.
Let's do it. We're going to have our guest, Anton, Filipinoman, coming in just a little bit.
Be right back, guys. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tuesday show. And for our interview segment this week, we are bringing on Mr. Filipinoman, representing not just SoCal, but the entire West Coast. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's Tuesday, and that means there's a lot of blowups, right?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
Let's do
okay.
some more, huh? You're about to blow some other stuff up, huh? You want to be mean out there? All right. Look.
You don't like me stirring the pot, David? You don't like me stirring the pot?
You want to stir the pot? I'm not saying don't do it, dude. Come on, we brought you onto this show. Let's get wild. All right, so before we get into what we are going to be talking about, of course, this Midwest versus West Coast stuff, let's start talking about how you got into the competitive FGC in the first place. What is your origin story for taking games competitively?
Ooh, that's a good question. So when I was young, I always loved fighting games. They're the only games I ever really played. So I played Tekken 3 growing up. I had Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max. I remember even when I was a kid, like I thought Rose was a boss because if you remember the Alpha 3 character select screen, Bison was up here and Rose had her own little one down here. So I was like, oh crap, a female boss character. And then when I got my PS2, I bought MVC 2 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2 in 2001 when I was like 6. Those were the first games I bought at Best Buy. But as time went on, I started. So I started playing like Maple Story, unfortunately, straying away from the fighting games. But then Maple Story had a glitch, so I decided to be like, okay, I can't play on this anymore. It kept logging me out, so I decided to pick up Dead or Alive 4. And that was actually my first competitive fighting game in late 2007, early 2008. So I finally saw that there was a lot of people that were playing online, like playing very competitively. They were very good. So I was like, I can do this. I can actually play them and finally have people to play with because my brother never wanted to play fighting games with me growing up.
So
And
if
then-
it wasn't for a Maple Story glitch, we may not have Filipinoman in the community.
Thank you, base bugs.
It was all the bugs. It was a glitch, but it was Mortal Blow glitch. If anyone remembers that one. But then,
Didn't play Maple Story, but I'll take your word for it.
and then, of course, to get into Street Fighter 4, from Dead or Alive 4, I remember looking at all the trailers, and it was C Viper that actually got me to want to play the game. I was like, she's like jumping all around the screen, and now I don't play jumpers anymore. I always just stay on the ground. But that's actually what
kind of counts as jumping a little bit, so
But yeah, it was the jumping that got me into Street Fighter 4. And I remember selling all my games. I sold all my Nintendo games. I was like, I'm done with Nintendo. I'm too old for Nintendo. And then I sold Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Right.
I mean, it was
awful choice.
Yes, and then it was an awful choice, but I don't regret it one bit getting Street Fighter 4, and then that's how I got into competitive games. Is I found the online community.
But why did you start playing fighting games? What about them drew you to them, even as a kid?
I think it's just being able to mash a lot of stuff and have stuff come out as you like it. I don't know. Like, I think being able to mash in a fighting game is very important to get out your inputs because it shows like, these people are just having some fun. And of course it doesn't work in competitive gameplay, but if you're just trying to beat the computer and then nothing is working for you and you're just stiff, that's not good for a new player. But for me, having like Tekken 3 and even like holding up and pressing a button and getting a kick, that's something I can't really do in a lot of games. It's like very weird to move back in the day.
I mean, was it the fact that they were there was a one-on-one fight, or was it something audio-visual about it that you liked? Like, I'm trying to understand, like, what was the draw? Because you could be
Man
mashing in
said he
any
was
number of
6.
different.
You think he remembers? I don't remember why I like video games.
I actually do remember, because I started playing Street Fighter 2 when I was also 6. Wow. And yeah, I remember the feeling of what I was interested in. I have, as you know, not the world's best memory, but I do remember that.
Well, I always so growing up in SoCal, I actually went to the Super Arcade way before it became like Watson's. I was always brought to the arcade. I loved the idea of pressing buttons. I remember going to the laundromat because I grew up really poor. And playing on the little 25-cent Neo Geo machines. There's always an MVC1 cab. Actually, if you go to the laundromat in Pomona off of Holt, you'll go in there. The machine is broken now, but it's still the same machine that I played on back when I was like 8 or 7. And I took a picture of it. It's out of order. They took it out of order because people were burglarizing it.
Dude,
but
you need to purchase that from them and restore it. Come on,
Yeah,
dude.
Ooh, I probably could. But that always draw me is like pressing the button and like having the joystick. I didn't play on stick obviously my whole life. I played on pad at the beginning, but
Yeah.
but having the idea of it was always like strong to play for me. So yeah, like I always told James my main story at Super Arcade was when I was playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because back in the day in PlayStation 2, when you played Marvel and you set the health bar to the high damage health bar, you couldn't unlock certain characters in the shop. And of course, as a 7-year-old, you can't really process that you just needed to lower the life bar so the other characters would show up in the shop. So I played characters at the arcade, which were Juggernaut, BB Hood, and Gambit. This is like my fondest memory at the Super
Nice.
Arcade. And I was like getting bopped by the CPU because of course I was not good. I was still a young child. But then there was this like man that like was like, let me help you. And I was like, and that story's kind of weird back in the day, but like now that I think about it now, but like he definitely like played the game and was like sick with like these 3 characters. And I don't know. I feel like
that man was James Chen.
No, we've
Yeah.
actually talked about this. I remember I was talking to Anton a long time ago. I was trying to figure out who that man might have been, and I was like, maybe it was Visant or something, you know?
that's what I'm
Like,
saying, because Vince not used to live in this area, so it could have definitely
Well,
been
did he have a black leather
vest.
jacket on? And
No.
chaps? Well, it probably wasn't James.
It
Do you
couldn't have
have
been
any-
Jay then, because that's all he ever wore.
That's all he ever
Do you
wore, yeah.
do you have any memory at all of what the person looked like? Curiously,
He had like a beard. I remember he had a beard and he was like clean shaven, like he had the brown hair. And I remember he was wearing like a coat, like a brown coat. Like that's what I remember that.
Oh, the
Yeah.
weird guy with a beard and a brown coat talking to little children. That's what you remember. Yeah, that's
I definitely remember.
a rough memory, dude, but all right.
I mean, I was like 7. But yeah, it was just he was definitely white. He was definitely white. If
Okay,
that's
okay.
another question.
that does lower
okay.
it down a little bit. So you know.
Yeah. So you start playing Street Fighter 4, and then how long did it take you to start showing up to community events, to the weeklies and monthlies that we were having a ton of at that time?
Ooh, so it took me about a year. So I didn't play any vanilla offline at all.
Okay.
At the beginning, I was actually a Zangief player. That was actually the player that, and then I was like, Zangief's, like I can twirl my stick and try and win this game. But I was like, let me play. I unlocked Rose because I feel that there's value in unlocking characters, and like I was like, she's the boss character. Like you had to play with Bison to unlock
You
Rose.
still thought, all those years later, you still thought she was the boss character.
Yeah, I thought she was a hidden boss character. So I
Alright.
was like, let's play Rose. And then I played the story. So that's how I got into Rose. And then
Nice.
no one else played Rose in season 1. Season 1, Vanilla. So if you remember Sax, I watched a lot of Sax back in the day to figure out Rose. He got 9th at Evo that year in Evo 2009. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. And I used to play Sax mirror matches, which is, in Vanilla Street Fighter 4, I was in California. He was in Maryland. Like I was playing people across the United
Yeah,
States with no
rough.
problem. And now I can't even play someone in Vegas. It's going to be laggy. But back then, I just did not care. I played anyone at any time.
Right. It did-
And then a year later, I found the offline scene. I actually met Chris T and Brent before I met them online first. So we decided to go to these events together after meeting each other through Xbox
Yeah.
Live. It was like Xbox Live party chat.
No, I remember when you guys first started showing up to Wednesday Night Fights, it was literally you, Brent, and Chris. Like you were the trio that would show up. And I remember because you were the young kids. And I tell the story all the time. I mean, like this is not a critique or anything, but you guys weren't very strong when you guys first showed up. You were obviously knew what you were
Exactly.
doing, but your growth came largely through playing at Wednesday night fights.
Absolutely. And learning from the best, learning from Watson to teach me the little things. But I actually have to credit all of me playing all these games to Mondo. Mondo was definitely the one that really got me into
Mondo.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
in
if you
case
guys
people
remember
don't,
Mondo.
like a little bit of history there, Mondo was the West Coast Spooky, basically, for Wednesday night fights. He streamed everything from Super Arcade. He was basically the man. He was pretty much like, if Spooky was the hardest working man in the FGC, Mondo was like number 2 for sure.
Absolutely. But even before that, you had LA scene, you had the inner city, you had the you had OC, you had, you know, the old days, Warrock, Tatsu, and Andy OCR.
Yeah.
You had like Kino and Mike Ross from the Arcade Infinity, but you had like me from the Inland Empire, and you know the only person to run those Inland Empire events was Mondo. And you know a lot of people don't know that SoCal expands that big, and we don't really count Inland Empire that much in terms of when we say SoCal because it's so hot and so like it's kind of grimy.
Come on.
And not only that,
That's definitely
so
SoCal.
I was born and raised in the IE, and once you leave it, you never want to go back. So that's probably one of the reasons.
Yeah, I definitely went a little bit more east or more west, so I don't want to go back. But growing up there was definitely a different experience and taught me a lot.
Well, let's talk a little bit. I mean, we're gonna hop forward in time pretty far in just a little bit, but I'd like to know how important Wednesday night fights was for you and for the other players that you guys mentioned. You might put Myers in there as well among players who are teens. Well, I mean, Marcus, like he and I were at UCLA at the same time. Like he was not as young as the other guys and not as exclusively like playing in Wednesday night fights and stuff like that. So what was that experience like and how like formative was that?
I think it's because it gave us all a place to play all the time with everyone at the same time, because Walnut was really at the middle of like everything. It was like if you have a SoCal triangle, like even if Santa Monica's a little bit farther from Walnut, it just gave us all a place to go where Mark Teddy from Santa Monica can drive there and me from Fontana at the time can drive there 40 minutes each way. And we can all meet and play and meet all these people with different styles. The name, like even if you just think about the name Wednesday Night Fights, people would go to Wednesday Night Fights. People wouldn't go to the mini tournaments other than the people in the local. Like people wouldn't go to Mondo's nice little Monster tournament. Like I love going there. We used to get 40 players, but we didn't get, we didn't get Mark Teddy to go there at the time. We didn't get everyone to go there.
Guys,
like the San Diego guys, it used to be like online Tony maybe would sometimes go and dominate us because we weren't good enough to beat him yet. Or maybe Kino would go. Kino was always the one that always used to support it and go there. We never got like Mike Ross or anyone like that. But when Super Arcade came out with Wednesday Night Fights and all together, because I was not there ever for the early Wednesday Night Fights days. It was always only the Super Arcade days.
Yes.
Is where when everyone just congregated, became friends, and got really strong and played with each other on Fridays, on Wednesdays. We used to stay up until 4 a.m., go to Denny's, building a friendship outside of the game, because I think friendship is like the number one thing that will get improved, because these are the training partners you'll train with forever. And I think I bring that with me to the challenges I have now, because I have new friends that I will go to bat for.
Well, I think that's a really interesting perspective, because I remember at around that time we had Wednesday Night Fights and there was whatever the New York local was called at that time. I don't remember what phase we're in exactly, but it was Wednesday Night Fights hugs basically. Everybody was Wednesday friendly and nice with each other, and then exactly. And then in New York they were combative, relatively speaking. I mean, they were friends as well, but there was a more combative, openly combative relationship. And I remember at the time there being people saying like
each other in the face constantly.
like this, like the combative style is what you need to get good. And then people in LA and SoCal were like, no, like we can be cool and be good. Like how do you view the difference in how that is arranged and like what actually produces good players?
I think obviously, when you have psychology, you have the punishment and then the what do you call it? Where you the punishment or the reward. Yeah. So both of them yield results.
Okay.
Only one of them can yield the friendships right away. So I think both of them can yield both positive results. Obviously, like I grew up Asian, so there's obviously a lot of the punishment for me and growing up. so like I like you definitely learn from that still. Like that, I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying that you can still like maintain your friendships that will be lifelong and still be competitors like on the field and want to practice with each other. And I think there is value in wanting to just prove that you're the best and that's the only thing to prove. But at the same time, I don't think that makes you the happiest in the fighting game community. Like I just think that it's way more conducive to be friends and be friendly with each other.
Yeah, but what if I really hate you?
Then sucks to suck.
Then you
You'd be one of the only few, Tubbo.
Oh boy.
Then you create the rivalries, right? That's where the rivalries
Yeah, right,
come
right,
from,
right.
So.
So you get really good at Street Fighter 4. You get, what did you get? 9th at Evo twice or
Yeah.
something like that?
I got 9th in Street Fighter. I got 13th in Street Fighter 4.
Okay.
You know, because if you remember my match with Itazan, it went disastrously, and I definitely choked.
Sorry, yeah.
I choked. But then I got my revenge the next year against Itazan using the different Ultra, and then I choked against Knuckle Dew. And then I got 13th again at Street Fighter 5 Season 1. Yeah, so I got 13th, 9th, 13th.
right.
So, you know, I'll never make it.
Pretty good. Yeah, but I mean that's a great stretch.
Dude, you still got a chance, dude. Come on, get back.
You know, James, I will always hold the title for having the most games played at a single Evo.
Yes.
Because I lost first round on a 5,000 person Evo. And I don't think anyone else will ever be able to beat that record of playing 22 games at an Evo. So I will take that down to my grave.
That's right.
That is definitely legit. All right.
Oh man. But I mean, so, you know, at this point, you know, SoCal at one point was the strongest. You've played in a lot of those, you know, Wednesday Night Fights versus NLBC exhibitions. You know, there was the famous one that was at Evo, you know, where the Chen Rage emote comes from and stuff like that, you know. But like how obviously right now you're backing, you know, this West Coast kind of situation, but you know, Wednesday Night Fights, for example, doesn't have the same kind of prestige that it used to have and everything like that. What's your take on, you know, what kind of happened with the SoCal scene?
Do I want to be realistic or do I want to just
be
like
real.
sugarcoat a little
Let's
bit?
go. I want to hear drama. This is Drama Tuesday, baby. Let's go.
Okay. So the SoCal scene is still strong. It is still strong. We are still strong. Everyone kind of lost their will to play because of COVID and the pandemic. Obviously, they don't get to go out and play. A lot of people used to play only for that. But I feel the prestige of Wednesday Night Fights is not the fault of the players. I feel like they were trying to do too much in the middle of Street Fighter 5. In terms of not showcasing only Street Fighter 5, and there was too much at Wednesday Night Fights going on to only showcase Street Fighter 5. So I get Vi's perspective on that. But back in the day, we had Wednesday Night Fights and the Run Back, so there was only 2 games each. So it's much more easy to swallow that pill to watch those two games per night. But when we're getting like random Gundam game or random mobile game on stream, that really affects the prestige of our event because they're not really showing all the how the build up to getting to that top 8. It's always just these top 8 players. And it could be anyone from SoCal at that time. And I don't mean this as like a slight at that decision. It's just I understand why the decision was made, but I think that really hurt in terms of showcasing our players. Because if you remember back in Street Fighter 4, like even our mid-level players were showcased at Wednesday Night Fights. Even our mid-level players at the Run Back were showcased. But like I feel like at the point of where we are now, only our top 3 sometimes with streams. So like that's gonna be the same players every week, and no one wants to watch the same match every week. People want to watch the variety. So I feel like that's what hurt Wednesday Night Fights. But I feel the players are still pretty strong.
Because I mean, even though we don't see them on streams as much, I mean, Snake Eyes obviously is still killing everybody on his own stream. I know Chris and Brent are still playing a lot as well, right? So they're
secretly they say they don't, but they are.
Right. So, you know, so talk to me about this then. Where did this West Coast versus Midwest rivalry come from?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to say that the Midwest started it. The Midwest definitely started it. I just made it a spectacle.
Wait.
So
take us to moment 1 where you think this all started. How did the Midwest start it? What did they do?
I got you. 2019. Let's go back to 2019. 3 years. 3 years.
Yeah.
We had the why does West Coast get all the opportunities era of fighting games. Like they don't deserve it. They just get it because of their location, as if we don't work hard. And they always said, "Oh, it's not because you don't work hard. It's because you guys. It's really just because of your location." But like, at the end of the day, there's no reason for you to say that unless you really meant that it's because we don't deserve these opportunities. Because you can just come over here and grab these opportunities from us. But like even then, it's like as COVID happened, that went away because it doesn't matter if you're really from LA or really from like. I understand in a commentator's perspective, like it is much better to get jobs if you live in SoCal, and obviously there's a lot of geographical bias in that term. But in terms of being a player, it's actually pretty hard to become one of the most prolific players here in SoCal, or the prolific players back in NorCal back in the day. Imagine having to go to Wednesday night fights, proving yourself to win that, trying to beat Snake Eyes every week. It's like not gonna happen. Like it's impossible. He is the best player. Like, and you're not, and to get that showcase time, it's very difficult. Obviously, you'll get more practice here. But that's initially what started it. Rob TV was even back then was talking a lot of smack about the SoCal players. And let me just tell you that, you know, I had to shut him down at some CEO, beating him at CEO 2019. He called me the Street Fighter 4 has-been. That's incorrect. I am definitely I definitely have Street Fighter 5 acumen. It doesn't matter like what you like. I might not have been as good in Street Fighter 5 as I am in Street Fighter 4. And you can say all you want that COVID makes you, that like a lot happened, that change in COVID that made you a better player than me. But at the same time, none of us have really played other regions for 3 years. And that's why I feel like making this West Coast versus Midwest spectacle was very necessary, because we just haven't played in a while. People want to watch. And so even starting from back then, that's where the Midwest rivalry started. And then going through CPT, if you really watch old CPT victories from Rob, we have never said anything about the Midwest in CPT 2021. But if you watch his post interview, he could not get Chris CCH out of his mouth. He could not get West Coast out of his mouth. He called us out, saying that the only players that he couldn't beat are Punk and Idom, and saying that the West Coast has no chance. So I just was like, you know, if that's all you want to say, then just play us. Why not just play us? And I decided to make the video. I was like, you know what, Chris? Like, you know what, Eric? You know what? Like, we should just make this video. Let's all meet up in NorCal. You know, they're my best friends. So me, Flaquito, and Chris CCH are like best friends. Like we definitely go. So we were just like, let's go make these videos. And you know, even if our video flops, even if people make fun of us, let's go make this funny video and just call them out and finally figure it out. And I think
David, you surely watched the videos. What did you think of the videos, David, that you surely watched?
Yeah, I'm curious how you would describe that. I mean, surely there are people who are watching this who haven't seen the video. So what happened in it?
What happened in it? It was so
Don't
for me, it was just
people people can see it. So you know. Oh man.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're talking about a rivalry that you are sort of, you know, there's history here, but that you are also moving forward. So like, you know, what did you say in the video? What did you do in the vid?
I just said that Rob TV was talking too much smack, and that just to play the match. That's literally the gist of the 1 minute video was here. We'll finally put some terms to finally play that match. I wanted the match to be played at Capcom Pro Tour or Capcom Cup last year, whatever it was. But obviously that couldn't happen because of the cancellation. But I just wanted to move it forward and just let's play the match, and that's all it was. So we can continue. If you really back up what you're saying, let's play that match.
Right.
All right. And how was that?
Quickly, well, I was gonna say, let's sort of quickly recap. The billionaire class gets mad that the working class wants some shine for their hard work, and the billionaire class says, "What, are you telling me that I didn't work hard to be a billionaire? Well, I worked real hard, and I'm mad about it." And then COVID happened, and nobody was mad about it anymore because we're all stuck at home, whatever. And then, basically out of nowhere, you just decided, you know what, I want to fight the Midwest. But we never talk shit about the Midwest or Rob TV. But also, you guys suck. We want to play you. That's the story, right?
No, you completely skipped 2021 in your recap, where he just could not stop talking about the West Coast.
I don't remember that part of your story. I don't remember that part.
It was
Midwest Tubo here. So.
All right. So then, how was that video received, and what has happened since then?
I think the video, obviously we had audio issues. We didn't want to do any more takes because it was about to rain in NorCal. Backstage stuff. We were like, we only did it in 4 takes. So I was not happy with the entire video. And it's just I was just like, let's just send it out anyway because it'd be funny, it'll be fun.
Right.
It adds some stakes to something that other people would otherwise not care about,
Right.
and people now are pretty invested. Like even if you're not a fan of like this kind of skit work, it adds like a little bit of entertainment to the match. And so I think it was received well. I get a little bit of hate for like me being me, I guess. I don't know. They just like hate on the audio. They hate on the tie. They hate on the suit, or they hate on like they nitpick like little things. But otherwise, it was pretty well received. And I feel like I threw the alley oop to whoever wanted to take it. So I threw this alley oop. So it was an open ended video for them to accept the challenge. It was an open ended video for any TO that wanted to take on that exhibition. And I feel like it's just I'm getting pretty good at having ideas to produce in terms of getting people forward or like moving up. Like, like I like the big spectacle. So I'm the one that like planned out the entrance at Red Bull Kumai and also all the paperwork.
So let's talk about that a little bit, just because I wanted to bring it up. So this is a good segue into that. When Chris CCH did, everyone at Red Bull Kumite always gets to do like a little intro as they walk onto the stage. And what I've heard was that the original plan for Chris CCH was less than stellar and less than hype. And it was you who came up with the idea to print out the pictures of other people and have them tear them down and stuff like that. And, really, honestly, kind of put Chris CCH on the map a little bit.
Yeah, so the original plan, and we won't say who who said it was throwing out flower petals, and I was like,
sakura petals, basically.
You should have seen my face. I was like, what? Like, you're gonna waste your opportunity to showcase your 10 seconds to showcase your personality on throwing out like being a wedding flower girl at freaking Red Bull Kumite.
Yeah.
I'm not allowing it. So I was like, I got you. Like I know you won the LCQ, and I know we only have less than 6 hours until tomorrow before we can go and like play your matches, or like it was like 8 hours or something like that, because like the LCQ lasted a long time, and then the next day was actually the finals. So I was like, I got you. Like I'll wake up tomorrow morning, I will go, and I called one of our friends at the time. I was like, I need your help. Like I need you to make these like things. I looked up all the tweets that were them talking a lot of crap. We did that together, and I was like, here are the photos that we're gonna use, and then just make it. And I was like, I think it would be cool if we did a Days of Future Past reference, because we are the FGC, we love Marvel. And then I was like, I will get it done. I will go tomorrow to Kinko and print it out. And it's Sunday, not all the Kinkos are open, so I had to actually walk 1.5 miles to go get it printed out and come back. And I was like, and that's why his rips were terrible. I will never give him any credit for those rips. So he didn't get any practice, but it's okay. And I was like, it's fine. I got you, and I got it all done.
You need to practice ripping a paper?
I mean, that paper was high quality. It wasn't like gonna go like that. It went like this. It was like a photo paper.
Oh, man,
so I was like, I got you. And then the Brian F one was actually, I was like, I have a feeling you're gonna play against Brian F. So I don't know. It was just a feeling. So that was just a guess.
Okay, nice guess.
That's cool. Nice work. So what are you hoping for from these videos? I mean, what's in your mind?
Well, before we do that, let's also just talk about Rob's response video, right? Because Rob made a response video, right? Yeah. So I mean, what did you think of the video, and what's your reaction to it?
I thought it was incredible. Like I loved he really put in work. I thought he was just gonna have a selfie video, his little selfie video where he like talks about it. And I'm just like, I thought that was gonna be the response. I thought that would be okay, but I thought him putting in the work to make this ninja video, even with his boys, like I heard it, they're Midwest boys. It's exactly what I wanted him to do, because it builds him up. And I see people giving him all the props for this, what happened, like this rivalry to go on. Finally, someone's doing it. But I just want to let you know that it would not happen without the West Coast making up the idea and throwing them the alley-oop. So assist to us no matter what. And he posted earlier that it was a ratio, and like I will take any and all shit talk, because I come from an era past. Like it was definitely different back then. Everyone was talking a lot of mess. Yeah. So so it doesn't really bother me if you like take it a little bit personal with me, it's fine. Like, but I think it's exactly what he needed to do. It's exactly what he needed to do in response to make it the spectacle that I wanted.
Okay.
Well, what are you looking forward to now? I mean, what's your hope for how this goes?
I mean, there's gonna be one more segment with all of us there at Combo Breaker, and then it's gonna be the match, and then that's the end of that rivalry. And then it's just one production, you know what I mean? It's just to have a big match that people care about and people are invested in.
Get people interested in Street Fighter 5 again, okay? David?
Yeah, because Street Fighter 5
that
is
game is
Z.
Yeah,
like no one wants to watch no Luke with no stakes on the line.
Like,
people
Okay, well,
need the
that might be
stakes on
true.
the line.
Yeah, so people want like a little bit of pride back, and I feel like it's kind of a lot of it's lost in fighting games now because people are just like here, like put in the money, put in thousands of dollars, and then that's the only way you'll get some people to play. But if you bring back, I think this brings back pride, and I feel like that's something that a lot of us old players are. I'm not gonna call us old because that always offends people. Us
You
09ers.
call us old.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're all older than
Hey,
you.
listen, I'm an 09er too. Same class, baby.
Yeah, well, you're older as well. So yeah.
Us 09ers were always had a chip on our shoulder, and that is something that I want to give a chance to let these players showcase and then remove that chip from their shoulder.
So talk to me about this. Not everybody out there, I love regional rivalries. Not everybody out there thinks rivalries are important, but talk to me about why you think generating this and why rivalries are important like this.
Okay, so if you really just look back, from NorCal versus SoCal in Wednesday Night Fights or SCR 2017, like, or no, it was SCR 20. Oh my God, it's SCR 2014. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Wow. If you look back, if that moment didn't happen for
You're
Snake
old.
Eyes-
You are old. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. So in SCR 2014, if that moment didn't happen for Snake Eyes, would Snake Eyes have been really that made or really that as popular as he was? Potentially, but I would argue that was Snake Eyes' defining moment, is making that 5v5 and having that regional rivalry of NorCal versus SoCal, him making that comeback. We were getting owned and him making that slow comeback up. That would define him as as a player, and that could happen for anyone in this exhibition. Really, if someone really outshines and outperforms everything, that player is made as a player in the FGC, and that he didn't need to win a big major to do that. He didn't need to, he didn't need to make top 8. Because everyone should have value in the FGC, no matter if you're trying to have some value. But I feel like FGC is top heavy, and it's a good way to showcase players who are amazing at the game, but they're not exactly the best world-class international. And I'm not saying there's no world-class international or world-class players in this pool that we have, but people can definitely shine, and if there's eyes on it, people will definitely have that following afterwards.
What
Do
are
we
the
know
players
who's-
who are going to be playing?
Yeah. I was just
So who are the players? The Midwest hasn't given me the roster yet.
Oh.
But for me, it's me, Chris CCH, Plakido, who, if you guys don't know, was a Street Fighter 4 player here in SoCal.
Yeah.
Just couldn't beat anybody at the top level because they all knew the Rose match. and then Jot, who is a player from NorCal. He's very, very, very good, and people don't really see a lot of him because he's not really the well-known player, but he's definitely very good. And then we have Stupendous.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So
So
that
I'm
is
gonna give you some advice from the Midwest right now.
sure.
If you guys want any chance of winning, any chance at all, make sure that Rob doesn't put Joey 9000 on the team. Because I just heard 5 players that'll get scooped up and Mika slammed all over the place by Joey by himself. How are you gonna beat Joey?
No, Joey will lose to himself as he always does.
Oh, oh, all right.
You tell him, Anton.
Alright.
You tell him.
Wow.
Joey is on the brink of victory every time, and then all of a sudden, here you go. Like
That's the two-time Frosty Fawcett champion you're talking about.
I love that. There we go.
2 times.
No, I love Joey. Joey's great, but like,
Yeah.
he definitely is a little bit of a choker when it comes to closing out the match. And I think he is an amazing player, amazing footsies, amazing mix-ups, but I feel like we'll close it out against him.
Right. I mean, and so again, this is kind of interesting to me because, one of the things that I love about this is, there is a rivalry, but a respect coming from you
Yeah.
in a lot of this, and it really is just kind of building up this. I mean, because a lot of people in the chat are like, I don't even like Street Fighter V, but I'm hyped for this, you know.
I mean,
kind
me
of
too, dude. I
situation.
can't wait to have a reason to yell at Combo Breaker.
Right?
I haven't
See?
had a good reason to really yell since like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
So I'm ready.
Yeah, see, so I mean, to me, this is what I do love about these kind of rivalries, you know, and so that's why when you put out that video, I was so happy, you know, like to see that kind of thing. It wasn't about the production, it wasn't about, you know, any of that. It
Yeah.
was just let's get a storyline going because again, you know, I always tell the story of how West Coast East Coast rivalry literally defined Street Fighter 4 with, you know, Combo Fiend and them going out to Sensation and winning, and now they thought they were the best. And then Bar Fights 2 happened, and then we were the worst. And then Alex Vi started Wednesday Night Fights for that reason, you know, and there
Yes.
you go. So
It's just
Miss the
it's-
garage days where if you went 0-2, you got kicked out.
yep, band matches.
Suck it out.
Exactly. And so, NorCal, SoCal, the rivalry there, I felt like, even in the Street Fighter 2 days, that was one of the biggest things with, you know, Graham Wolf and, you know, the Wolf brothers and Jason Nelson going up against Tomo and all those guys. I just feel like rivalries are such a inherent, even in Japan, there's a lot of East Japan versus West Japan rivalries and stuff like that. I think it drives a lot of the FGC, honestly.
I agree.
Well, I mean, what do you have to say to somebody who is like not, like theoretically, if there's
could
somebody
that
out there
be?
who's not that invested in this?
Who could that be, David?
Like,
You-
I don't know,
do you
say
know
because
someone?
like that person's about to like turn 39 and they've just like been through this so
Do
many
you know
times
someone?
and they just all feel
David?
like they're completely the same at this point. And hey, like maybe you have friends on all the different sides and it's like, well, I don't know. I've lived in a bunch of different places, including this one and including that one. And like, why should I pay attention to this as something that's more important than just matches that might be
Very
happening in a
specific,
regular
very
tournament?
specific.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Theoretically, if that kind of person existed, what would you say to them to try to get them involved?
I would just say like there's nothing we can do at that point because it just sometimes it just isn't for you. Like so for some people don't like to watch WWE or wrestling. I still love it even though I'm older. Like I just haven't grown out of it. Like there's other stuff for you in the fighting game community that can help those people like or that can fill the void in those people. Like if they like watching high level play and that's all they want to watch, that's fine by me. Like that's
Filling
cool.
voids.
Like yeah, the voids. What you want. It's basically if you like just watching high level play and commentating on the high level play or like commenting and understanding the high level play, then that's for you. If you like watching, you know, tutorial videos, then because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of market for that too. The people that are educational and help you learn the fighting games. I don't like watching those, but other people do. So like there's always
I wish you did a combo breaker. Let me tell you.
like I just do my own thing, and I think if there's obviously people, there's obviously reception to this where people do want to watch this. So for me, I think our videos were a success, and I think that there's many people that are invested, and if there's other people that aren't invested, that's okay. They're allowed to watch whatever they want, and I feel there's a lot of people that are going to watch our exhibition and comment on it, and there might be a breakout person from either the Midwest or West Coast. Whoever wins. You know, the West Coast is gonna win, but it's okay. But we don't know who's gonna be the star of the West Coast.
I still always regret running Aftershock and letting some unknown player named Hanzo Gonzo be the hero of the NorCal scene.
Yeah. And that was right after he had lost in Marvel 3 to UltraDavid beforehand. Oh, what a horrible. All right, dude. Well, anything else to say? Actually, plug yourself. What do you got?
I am just on Twitter as Filipinoman, and then I'm on Twitch as Filipinoman with a 0 instead of an O. So if you want to watch Rose play, then I'm on Twitch. If you want to just watch me I don't really tweet as much as I used to. I used to do hot takes, and like I used to be like kind of hated, but I feel like I've grown out of it because I became less opinionated. But if you want to look for updates on the Midwest versus West Coast, I would say I guess drama, then that would be the correct place. There's a lot of banter going on right now, and I think it's entertaining, even if it's just there.
Yeah. So, 2 questions actually. I have one question that I always ask everybody. First one, just curious, very quickly, what do you think of Rose's buffs in the latest patch?
Oh, I think Rose is definitely top tier.
Oh,
She definitely got
Okay.
everything she needed because I didn't think she was this bottom one character last season.
Yeah.
And then the weaknesses they were saying, like, how does she have bad anti-airs when she has both like an anti-air grab and also this one button anti-air? I never understood just because she can't move that fast, but her movement is not with her walk speed, it's with more with her like buttons and like her spirals. She moves around the screen a lot, and her dashes are actually some of the best in the game. So the only thing she was lacking was when she got a hit, she didn't get Oki, but they just straight up gave her it. So they were just like, here, these buttons are spiral arrow now. All of them are actually just all spiral arrow, but they can also be used draw and then space to be safe. So if I just randomly hit a spiral, then it's Oki. So so it's just they kind of over buffed her, I would say, but Japan seems to disagree. They also buffed all her combo damage in unique ways. Like they made cancels work in different ways now. They buffed her button that links so that it would reach farther. So I would say I think Rose is just in a good spot right now. And she actually fights Luke. She's actually one of the only characters that can arguably beat Luke.
Interesting. Okay. And so, of course, the other last question is, obviously you're Filipino, have a lot of Filipino pride, but where did Filipino man, the handle, come from?
Filipino man. It's actually on Xbox Live. It's my brother's gamer tag.
You stole your brother's gamer tag?
Yeah, it's my brother's gamer tag.
How much
And
older is he than you?
my brother is 6 years older.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we shared the Xbox Live tag, and obviously, you had to pay for Xbox Live Gold. And then I went to the tournament, and no one knew me as Anton, so I was just like, "Yeah, it's Filipino man." So they kind of stuck.
Because that's who they knew who you were online, right? So that's you just kinda
Yeah,
stuck
so they were just like, "You're Filipino man," yeah. So
Wow.
you jacked your
I'm
brother's name. That's awesome.
yeah, so he had to change his tag actually.
Get wrecked.
You conquered
Get
his
wrecked.
territory. Oh no.
That's awesome.
All right.
Cool.
Well, very good. Hey man, thanks a lot for
Freaking
coming on. I hope that the whole rivalry thing goes well. I'll definitely be there at Combo Breaker as well.
Now,
Got it.
who's streaming it and all that stuff? Is it going to be an
I don't think
official
they've
thing?
announced any of that stuff yet, right?
Oh, okay.
What happened? Tubbo?
He's asking you who's streaming it and all that stuff. I don't think it's been announced yet, has it?
It has not been announced.
Okay.
I need to actually handle that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Well,
All right,
keep an eye on Filipino Man on Twitter for all that information, and thanks again for hopping on. So,
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for
for
having
Hanging
me.
out for a
Appreciate it,
while. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
All right,
All
homie.
right. And we move on.
that's right.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, thanks a lot to him for coming on and chatting with us for quite a while. Good to catch up with him a little bit too.
And before we jump on to the next segment, probably want to remind everybody, we've had our awesome 3 weeks of reads for Manscaped here. We do have the coupon code UCTV for 20% off orders. Just as a reminder to everybody, this is actually going to be the final week, right? That you can use this coupon code, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, it sure is.
And this was a trial run with them to see how we're doing. They loved our reads and everything, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying that as well. But just as a reminder, if you've been waiting and kind of thinking about it, please consider using it. The number of codes that has been used will determine our potential
Listen,
moving
guys, they've been
forward.
paying us in Lawnmower 4.0s.
Yeah.
We haven't eaten in weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we can't go on any longer. Please use the code UCTV at checkout on manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping.
I haven't been able to afford rent this week, which is why I'm not even in my apartment anymore. As you could see, I've been cast out onto the street,
Yes.
and that's entirely because I wasn't able to get the Manscaped sponsorship into actual dollars yet. Sure, I have all these Lawnmower 4.0s. Sure, I have the nose trimmers. I got 10 of them. But, unfortunately, the stores don't take Lawnmower 4.0s
They don't, yeah.
for food. They will
It's like
not
paying
barter
with
with
clout.
me.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
They just won't do it. So
mean,
as a result, if I'm going to get back on my feet, it's going to have to be only through us getting a long-term sponsorship with Manscaped, which you can make happen by using, honestly, just a few more codes. And it doesn't even need to be anything big.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
please.
I mean, that's the tough thing, right? I mean, it's just a trial sponsorship, so we're all living like bums. Thankfully, thanks to their trimmers and everything, we don't have to look it, right? Because we're all like clean shaven and everything, and we're just completely hair free at this point in time from the chin lower, right? Especially David, right? I mean,
Body hair.
yeah,
Everybody's got it. Literally, you're a
except
mammal.
for
You
us.
got it. You got it.
exactly. So
Please consider picking one up. You don't have to be a man. You don't need to have all of
You don't
the
even want to
gross
skate.
business.
You don't even have to want to skate. You can.
You
just
don't have
Dude,
to have
I
it.
had
anyways.
someone come onto my stream and tell me that they grabbed, I think it was one of the boxers and the feet spray. So just
Yeah, man. Good smelling feet and a nice place to put your balls.
exactly. So
I've been looking for places to put my balls TuboWare. So
Now
yeah.
the boxers, man, it's a good place. It's a good
it
starting
is.
point.
It is. I got a pair from Manscaped. Unfortunately, again, even though I have 30 of those, the local Walmart won't take my
Imagine walking into
underwear.
Walmart. I'll take this Xbox. Here's 40 pairs of man.
Oh, hello, greeter. Thanks for greeting me at the front door. Can you send me over to where I can barter for Manscaped underwear?
Yeah.
Oh man. So honestly though, if you guys can help us out, we would appreciate that. And thank you guys very much to the people who have already helped out and used the coupon code UCTV at Manscaped for 20% off and free shipping. You too can be one of those people. There you go.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just to quit hamming it up for a little bit, it really has been a nice product. I've used it a few times at this point. Anybody can use it. You can use it for your beard too if you got one of those. It doesn't need to be for your nether regions. Yeah, I mean, it works well for that, but like they got other stuff too.
Yep.
All right,
Worldwide
cool.
shipping? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's free worldwide.
That I have no idea.
Alrighty then. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic of discussion over here. EQNX, a longtime team in the fighting game community, just announced recently that they're no longer sponsoring players anymore, and that they are moving their focus towards talent management and production. And it's kind of a shame because EQNX has been a very long supporter
They've been
of
around,
the
yeah.
fighting game community. Not only that, but the its company is run by Rose, and as a result, she definitely focused a lot on a lot of the women players in the fighting game community as well. So they've sponsored a lot of women in the FGC, which was really, really cool, as well as players like Brian F and such. So it's sad to hear that they are leaving the player sponsorship route. What are your guys' take on this?
Unsurprising. It's hard to make money in esports. It sucks, but they were dope, and I know all their players that I talked to. They said they liked it. So no, I don't think it's like Circa or Echo Fox, because Circa blew, and I know because I was managing that team. So and Echo Fox had a big old racist at the head of it. So
Right.
I don't know if it's like that exactly. Equinox actually seemed like a pretty good org.
And that's one of the things though that Big for Little is mentioning that is also kind of a shame too, is that EQNX was also a massive Tekken supporter. So a lot of their sponsored players were Tekken players as well. And so that's kind of an unfortunate area.
Yeah, it's just really tough to make esports teams work. So as a lawyer, I have clients who run esports teams, and I have had for a decade at this point. And whenever a new one comes to me, and it's a potential client, and they'd like to talk about me doing whatever it is to do for their startup esports team, I always make sure to say that it is very unlikely that you're going to end up making a profit, and I just want them to know that when they go into it. Because it's just been very rare in my experience, even on the inside of these things, that companies have actually made profits. I'm only aware of a couple, and I, honestly, like not even in just the FGC, but like in larger esports, like it's just a rarity.
I actually
make money
argued with
back.
David the other day. I thought that all these big teams are making money, and he's like, "Nah, man, just Google it." And yeah,
I mean, look,
oof.
the thing is, like, they make revenue, but they just have super high costs. And so what they do instead is they have kind of endless seeming founts
investors.
of investor money. Yeah, exactly. So
I
there
don't.
are.
I thought like investing, you're supposed to make money back, and
Well,
I
the
don't
idea
understand how
is that
you
like
see these
eventually you're
teams.
going to. The
Right.
idea is like in 5 or 10 years,
In
you're eventually
15
going to.
years, maybe.
Right. I mean, that's what they're playing for. They're playing for the long game, and
mean-
that hasn't been what it hasn't worked out for everybody. Right. We talked about Echo Fox. That was their goal.
Dude,
That was their
just
thought
talk
too. They
about
blew up.
MLG. Just talk about MLG. MLG is like the perfect example. Whoa, where did TuboWare go?
I'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
MLG was a perfect example of that, right? MLG was a company that has basically looked like they had endless amounts of money. They looked like they were making tons and tons of money. And when they got bought out by Activision, you know, a giant chunk of that cost was paying out the debt that MLG owed. MLG was super far in the red, like millions of dollars in the red, and
man,
just
yeah.
funded by venture capitalists kind of thing. And that's the way businesses work. A lot of the times, that's how you have to do it, right? You invest into the long-term strategy. You're hoping that it'll just become something. Yeah, Netflix just became profitable recently, maybe, you know, it's...
I mean, some of these things are due to creative accounting, but others are really you're just not making enough money to cover the amount of money that's going into it. So anyway, that is the case for a lot of esports teams. And as a result, I am not surprised. And I think that's especially been true for teams that have tried to make the specifically esports team side of things work. So to the extent that some are making money, it is largely on things like media deals. It's largely in other sponsorships. The actual like player wins tournament, team thereby gets cut of winnings.
Right.
Almost nobody makes money doing that. Not even profit. Like that's just a very small chunk of money that comes in.
Yeah.
So the actual esports side of it is not very lucrative, and so I'm not surprised, and that's of course especially been the case over the last couple of years during COVID, as that whole business model has had to change drastically.
Yeah, and
so-
Equinox has always been kind of one of the smaller, you know, sponsor groups out
Yeah.
there. So, you know,
Sure, yeah.
and so, you know, again, really sad to see it go. But, you know, they said they aren't going away completely. They're focusing on, you know, talent management and production. That's very important as well. And so hopefully they will continue helping, you know, in that department and such. Because, again, I know that, you know, Emily, who runs Equinox, has done a lot of mentorship and a lot of working with a lot of the players, you know, that were sponsored.
Yeah, she said, and she put up a little thing herself, not just Equinox, but like on her own Twitter account, that said that she's still going to be working closely with Cuddlecore as her personal manager, which is great. I'm happy to hear that. But yeah, the switch to more content focused stuff, I think it's very much in line with where the industry is going, and
Panda,
it
right?
makes a lot of sense. Panda's a great example of this, no doubt about it. Yep.
Right.
And
They've
again, that's something that you see in larger esports too. Like that is where more of where the money is. Still, it's probably not super lucrative, but like it's more lucrative than you know, hoping that a player wins a big event and getting money through that.
Right,
So yeah,
exactly.
cool. I'm not surprised. Bummer as well at the same time. I am a little bit surprised that they're letting Brian F go, because he has a great content side of his own
Right.
persona as well. So that seemed to me like it might have been good to keep going, but
I mean,
you know,
it might. Who
is
knows?
changing.
It might have even been Brian's side of things, right?
Yeah,
Like
sure. I
if
don't
they're
know.
not going to fly people out to events anymore and stuff like that, maybe Brian's like, well, cool, I appreciate, but I need to find a sponsor that can, you know, do all sorts of things for me, because Brian
Sure.
F definitely, you know, worth it, you know, definitely out there doing a lot of big things, making great content. Also at the same time, wonderful, wonderful player, and obviously very top player privileged, being allowed to play an NLBC from Texas.
Oh boy.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. All right. So
Yeah,
Anything
and
else to
again,
say
you know,
about-
it's a tricky thing. You know, I say this all the time. A lot of people, you know, especially from foreign countries, they come and talk to me, and they're always like, "Man, how do we get as big and rich in esports like you guys are in America?" And you know, I always just have to tell them, dude, it's smoke and mirrors, dude. Esports is largely it's dress for the job, you know, that kind of thing. And that's what esports is doing. They're trying to seem like that they have this money and they're really extravagant, and, you know, all this stuff is happening. But honestly, like, so very few people actually make the money that people think esports is making, really, honestly.
there are
So-
certainly some individuals who are getting big time rich off of it.
Oh, yeah,
But
for sure. But
even
this is-
even in those cases, right? Those are people who are at the helms of some of the big companies, some of the best players in the world in some of the bigger esports games. There are people who are doing that. Some of the agents and lawyers and stuff get involved. But as far as the, you know, even in those cases, the businesses that they're working for typically are not making profit, right? So like maybe an individual like owner gets money, but his company that he owns doesn't.
Right.
So
It's the same
anyway,
as
it's a tough time.
capitalism. That's just basically what it really comes down
Eh,
to, right? So a lot of it, that's the way it works most of the time. So, all right.
All right.
Just as a little quick thing, I know normally we don't do like news sections, but there's just a lot of really neat things that are happening. So I just want to make sure people are aware of them. Melty Blood announced 2 new characters for DLC. One of them was named Mario something or other. I don't remember the full name because it was like a foreign language, and so I haven't quite committed it to memory. But Powered CL is the other character that's coming out. But what's actually really neat about this is that it was announced that this is all free DLC. So this is not going to cost you anything. This is free, and also coming with a major balance patch. I saw Giuna tweeting about it, and there are some really, really big changes for the game that are trying to make the shields a little bit stronger. What are you laughing about, David, here?
No, it's all good, man.
Okay. Mario Gallo Bestino. Thank you, Tuhalu. Thank you. But those 2 characters coming out, they will be free DLC for everybody out there. So there you go. That's really cool. Also, BB Tag has been on public beta for the longest of time for the rollback testing. It is going to be officially coming out now. So if you do want to keep playing it, you will have to purchase, purchase the game, because I think the game is free right now or something like that. But it was a public beta test. But now it is officially coming out, and it'll be available for everybody on the 14th, which is just in a couple of days. And so, I mean, again, shout outs to Arxis for retrofitting rollback into all of their games. I think that's super, super cool. And then also 2 days from now, Rugal drops also free DLC for King of Fighters 15. Also coming with the boss rush mode, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of good content for content creators. I'm sure. So that's coming out. Also wanted to mention a couple of cool documentaries that were just released. I'm a little biased for one of them. Obviously, Red Bull's been doing a documentary series on Daigo Umehara. And the first one, if you guys remember, came out and I was doing the narration for it. So I am also doing the narration here on the second one here, talking about his switch over from Ryu to Guile in Street Fighter V. And, having a bunch of numbers and stats to kind of back up his performance and stuff like that. So really, really cool. Also, Hold Back to Block, Esteban, of course, who has made all sorts of fantastic documentaries in the fighting game community and for video games in general, has done stuff for GDQ, etc., etc. He made the excellent Killer Instinct documentary, talking with a lot of the original creators of the original Killer Instincts and stuff. He put out a new documentary for Gundam Versus, actually, and its presence in the competitive esports scene and fighting game communities and such. So that's really cool. And speaking of Cuddlecore, you just mentioned recently, being a part of Team EQNX, and how Nyx Rose is going to still, be her manager and such like that. She was just featured in a YouTube video where she was interviewed by Katie Couric.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's easy to be like, whatever, I don't care, but honestly, it's actually kind of neat, and it's kind of a big deal, I think.
Yeah, it's really cool
to be interviewed by mainstream media like this. I haven't had a chance to see the segment like this, but again, this is just kind of one of those things that you can't overstate the importance that Cuddlecore brings to our scene and to esports in general. Not only is she a rare, a girl gamer who is literally winning tournaments and placing high, week after week in Tekken events, but also, a black girl as well, and just, really allowing that kind of representation and being that kind of a role model and breaking a lot of barriers, I think. And I think it's just really, really important. And so to have her be able to have this position to be interviewed by Katie Couric, in a kind of a mainstream media fashion, I think is super neat. I think it's really cool.
I did watch it, and
Oh,
Katie
cool.
Couric honestly asks good questions. Like it was not treated as like a sideshow situation, which was nice. It
Ooh,
was
okay,
yeah, I
okay.
liked it. I highly recommend checking it out.
It wasn't like, do you like video games?
Yeah, it wasn't anything asinine. Like
Yeah.
it was good. Check
Okay,
it out.
cool. Yeah, I definitely have that tweet where she posted it liked, and so I'm definitely gonna take a chance and watch that when I get a chance. So yeah, there you go. So just wanted to mention those kind of things and
All
also
right,
say hi to my kitty.
it's Kitty Cat,
Hey.
and we are gonna move on to the 5-5 matchup.
Okay.
It's about 7:30 now, so let's do one of these things.
Oh, so just do one of them then?
Let's just do one of these things.
Sounds
Yeah,
good. Sounds good. All right. So let's go ahead and post up the poll questions over here. So we will not do number 2.
we will not.
So here we go. Here are the questions for you guys.
Here we go. Number 1. If you had to pick up to 2 matches in the history of fighting game tournaments to tell someone, this is what fighting games are about, which matches would you choose and why? Number 2. With Riot's Project L coming, what will it take for it to be a popular main game in other countries like Japan? And then number 3. Which fighting game input is most likely to result in physical impairment? Tekken Dashes and Electrics, Morgan Astral Vision Super KI Lockout combos, or Street Fighter Grappler 360s. There you go. You got 1 vote to give, unless you are a subscriber, in which case you got 2.
There we go. Poll is created. So go ahead and vote with !1, !2, or !3 to let us know which question you would like us to answer. Fighting game history, Riot's Project L, or which inputs are hurting the most? Man, I'm so scared that people are gonna pick the one. Man, gonna get some water while I'm waiting here for this result.
I see. I have water as well.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. Let me do something over here really quick here. While I let people continue to vote, I'm gonna let it go for just a little bit, David. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
I just want to check something really quick here. Oh, I can't do that right now. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay. All right. Wow, we're actually completely tied between
Oh,
1 and
yeah?
2.
What? Between 1 and 2?
1 and 3.
No.
I'm sorry. 1 and 3.
Okay,
1
okay,
and
okay,
3.
okay.
Okay. We have gotten a couple of extra votes. I'm closing it. It is number 1.
Got it.
The one that I was kind of scared of. Because honestly, I'm not. This is a tough one to answer. Honestly. So let's get this back over here. And paste this here. There we go. All right. So let me also shrink the text. There you go. If you had to pick up to 2 matches in the history of fighting game tournaments to tell someone, this is what fighting games are all about, which matches would you choose and why? One of the things that bothers me about this question, to be honest with you, is I know that there are matches that I feel this way about. And I just can't remember any of them at this point in time because when I'm put on the spot, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Do you have anything that comes to mind, David?
Actually, yeah. I have a couple that come to mind.
Okay.
I would say that one of them is John Choi versus Alex Valle in Alpha 2 1,000 years ago. The match in which John Choi sees the Valle CC for the first time and then uses it, not only adapts, but is already using it by the end of the match, by the end of the games that they play.
Yeah.
And I think that match is really good. It shows a bunch of great things. What it most shows, I think, is the sort of learning and conditioning and adaptation that are involved in fighting games. I think those are things that are maybe not obvious to people who don't know terribly much about them. They can seem like it's the same thing over and over again. But in that one match, I think you get, new invention, kind of like new tech that the
Right.
opponent hadn't seen, and you also get adaptation, counter adaptation, and then like actual using of the new idea in a way that's like really succinct. Like doesn't take a lot of time. And even on top of that, like, it's got all the great classic stuff, footsies and mix-ups and whatever else, but like that is super notable.
And even at the end of that match, the surprise pick from Vi with Sagat kind of showing a little bit of, because Sagat was considered bad in Alpha 2. Like, nobody thought he was any good. When Vi picked Sagat, it caught everybody by surprise. Like, literally everybody was like, what the hell? So, that was a big deal as well. So
Interesting, because in the chat, people actually are identifying the other two that I was thinking of for this. I guess I'll just mention all three then. But one of them is absolutely Justin Wong versus Chris G in Marvel 3 in EVO 2013, where Justin has to make like incredible comebacks. So I think the reason to point that out is that sort of Marvel 3s are really good like intro game, I think, to show somebody.
yeah.
It's just really fast paced and zany, and it looks like the people are having fun, and you're moving all over the screen constantly. It is not a game that anybody could call boring. And so I think just for that reason, it's a fan favorite even among people who aren't active players of the game and always has been. But in that particular match, you get to see something like hardcore zoner versus character who needs to get in. So you have like the archetype is very clear. You have the sort of strategic battle that entails, and then you have the fact that, like, look, sometimes zany stuff happens, and people manage to make incredible comebacks somehow, and barely survive by the skin of their teeth somehow. And sometimes people Chris G in that set does a lot of really great things, but also like kind of lets Justin take it in some ways as well. And I think that would be really good to show for those reasons too. And then the last one that I thought about was Tekken Master versus Sonic Fox in Mortal Kombat X at EVO Grand Finals. So this is cool for another couple reasons, I think. One is that you get to see the sort of Mortal Kombat style footsies, which are quite different from many others. So just from an MK perspective, I think that's nice to show off to somebody because it can be so different. But it also shows somebody who is relatively unknown. Tekken Master was not somebody who we had heard of, but like in terms of did I think he was going to get to grand finals with Fox? Definitely not. I don't think not many people would have called that. And so it's absolutely like underdog versus player who had been terrorizing the scene for already years at that point, even in MKX, and that's really cool too, because it shows that Tekken Master in Bahrain, just playing against his few friends who are playing the game as well, is capable of taking on somebody who has not just all these years already at that point of dominance, but also like the scene to be able to train up with. Like Fox can play with anybody they wanted to, and just regularly was playing against a scene in the NA scene that is just full of talented players, and yet Tekken Master is able to do this. So I think that would be a really cool one to show for that reason as well.
Yeah, a lot of people are mentioning good ones, really, really good ones in the chat. I mean, for sure, there's a lot of them that are good for spectacles, like Bala Mad KOF, and also the next year, with Reynold, I think are both great ones to show, just in terms of just the hype factor. But, one of them that Jehudi Kai mentioned, Galileo versus Dogra, was one of them that came to my mind, because that one was like stakes and comeback and the underdog, I mean, Galileo, like Dogra was the man coming into that event, and Galileo just like being on the verge of elimination in like both sets and just finding a way to come back and just that was the match that made Mori, who is the creator of Blaze Blue, go, so that's what this is all about. Previously to watching Breaker Dave get killed by Kokonoi and laughing, and then watching that match and being like, oh my God, this is what it means. I have to make my fighting games balanced, like I thought was really, really kind of important.
Definitely.
I would also point out one match. Oh, did you want to? What were you gonna say over there?
I was just gonna say that even the external storylines are great in that. You're seeing if you're in the audience or if you're watching stream, the shots of Dogura's girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
As she's so upset, and knowing that, as we found out later, that he was planning to use the money for like their wedding. Even the external storylines are really great in that one.
God, yeah, that was heartbreaking, man.
Yeah.
And I still remember, like, even Galileo's girlfriend, I think she was on like commentary. She was like at the desk or so, like for the Japan commentary in full. Was it Ayame? What's his name?
I don't know if I know about this.
Yeah, she was in the whole like costume, and then after he won, like she was walking off and just like bawling and just like so like sad, and I was like, there was just so much that was happening there. It was like really, really cool. Amane, that's who it was. Yeah. But another match I wanted to mention was actually Vi versus Daigo at SCR. That was like the guidebook for footsies, the Ryu versus Ryu match. At the time, we commentated that, and we thought it was like our best work ever. Now when I watch it back, I'm like, holy crap, we were bad.
Absolutely
this was
right.
Street Fighter 4, but it is still one of the best.
What year was that? 2012?
2012, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 2012. It's a really good match there. I also wanted to mention maybe like Hungry Box versus Armada at Evo Grand Finals as well, because again, another one of those just emotions and just the amount of, crazy, like Mango had to make so many, Hungry Box had to make so many crazy comebacks, down a couple of stocks and stuff. And then when you knew he got that hit that was going to lead to the sleep, and everybody, and like his reactions and how he cried afterwards and everything, really, really good stuff. And then, a little bit of bias, obviously Punk versus Tokido, because I just think that was just a really good moment, and the whole thing coming together with the Gutex interview, with me crying about it and all that stuff like that. I just thought like it just kind of was a really good example of what fighting games really are about. And
that was Street Fighter V Evo Grand Finals in
2017
maybe.
Yeah. So there you go. A lot of good stuff, dude.
There's a lot of great ones. Yeah,
dude,
I saw somebody mention the Gandhi match. That actually would be really funny.
That actually is a good one, though. There's a lot to learn there. But I mean, honestly, like everybody mentioning all these matches, man, there have been a lot of amazing matches in fighting game history, man. I tell you, there's been so many good matches. So shout outs to everybody out there with that.
Absolutely. Good question. Very interesting question.
It was going to be harder than I thought, but honestly, shout outs to the chat. A lot of a good alley-ooping in there, and just helping me remember a lot of good matches out there.
I can't believe, well, I guess I can believe, but very funny that people in the chat specifically mentioned the ones that I was going to mention too. I guess we all, you're right. There are a ton of great matches, but there are also ones that like we think of, I think probably more often than
and obviously, you have to give a special shout out to the Daigo versus Justin Perry. I mean, that's the one that started.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that.
Yeah, wow. That's the one that basically put FGC on the map, right? I mean, when I had coworkers coming up to me and I was like, I do fighting games. They're like, have you seen this one video where like this guy does this thing and the audience goes nuts? And I was like, buddy, if the camera had just panned over another 3 feet, I would have been right there, dude. I was right there. So, oh man. Most emotional matches, Ass Muffin Man. I mean, obviously the Tokido one, but I would also say the Gamerby versus Momochi one was really emotional. Wow. Just because of the controller breakdown and how that
Evo Grand Finals, Street Fighter 4, 2014, 15?
Something, yeah. Because remember, Momochi was the king of Street Fighter at that time.
2015.
And Gamerby had that super, super just like draining match against Infiltration's Elena with 700 heals. You remember that? And Gamerby still managed to win that one, and then have it go down the way it did at the end of Evo was just, oh man, with the controller breaking down and just the tension and everybody going like, what's gonna happen, dude, was like, Oh God, that one. And I mean, I cried for a long time after that match was over. I couldn't stop crying basically. So,
It's
oh
hard for me
man.
to remember ones that I felt particularly emotional about, but I think that the ones that I do that jump out to my mind are not really about the matches. They're more about like my own investment in what was going on, like matches that I was commentating and I really enjoyed or something like that. Not as much about the individual matches and the gameplay on them, to be honest. But yeah, honestly, I've of course I've seen a lot. Yeah, Tubbo is going to be out of here for the rest of the night, everybody. But of course, he will be back next time. Sometimes things come up.
My camera view switched all of a sudden, so I'm trying to see if I can fix that camera view here as well. Sorry about this, guys. Hopefully, let me fix this. You know what? I'm not gonna worry about it.
I don't think it really
we're,
matters that
yeah,
much,
we're
man.
almost
Yeah.
done with the show anyway. So.
Okay.
All right, back to this. Okay.
No big deal. Let's get to the mailbag.
Yep. Mailbag. Gonna answer a couple of questions. All right.
Yeah, Goichi over Fox and DBFC is a great one.
Oh yeah, God, dude! Like I almost feel bad that I'm leaving out some of these matches because they're
Hey,
so
man.
good.
There's so many good ones. Yep.
Oh man, it's crazy, dude. Oh. All right, where am I? Where am I? Here we go. Let's do this.
Yep, you're talking about Woshige getting up too early, a classic one as well. There's a lot. There's a lot of great ones out there. All right, what do we got?
So, Subatar via Discord asks, "What is the most jingoistic thing you have ever done in the name of your coast, clan, arcade, region, etc.?" Explain to the audience out there exactly what jingoistic means, David, so they know when we answer the question.
You got it, James. If anybody's not sure out there, so it's like an extreme nationalism or patriotism, I guess I would say. And in the U.S. context, I've only heard it in the U.S. context, so I'm not sure if it's applied to other people as well. But certainly one that we use in the U.S. Primarily associated, I would say, with like early 1900s, but you still hear it sometimes. And it's kind of like hardcore patriotism, especially in like cheering for war, that kind of connotation. All right.
Man. I mean, I have a few ones. I mean, obviously, West Coast, East Coast rivalry is going to be a lot of the main ones that I have. I talked about the Chen Rage, the Chen Rage emote. That's where it came from, right? Was from a picture of me being super happy that, oops, that was not the right place to type it in. It's going to be over here. Thank you, Drunken Banana. And that was from Wednesday Night Fights beating NLBC pretty soundly at EVO. So there's a picture of me just kind of going crazy. The picture of me jumping up and down and cheering was when Infrit was beating Filipino champ for a little bit. So that might be pretty jingoistic. There was one more I was going to say. So go ahead, David, while I try to think if I can remember the last one.
Man, I mean, honestly, not that many things. I guess the most is just cheering and ripping on people, just making jokes. I haven't done anything like physical or anything like that. And I mean, although nowadays I think I don't really care about rivalries, I certainly recognize that like I used to care about them and that they have played a big role and stuff. So, I can totally recall in NorCal versus SoCal, just doing stupid cheers with my friends in SoCal, and then the NorCal folks having their own fun cheers after that, and then we all are friends after all anyway. It's like not that big of a deal. So I don't know if there's that much more for me. Maybe there's something that I'm not remembering, but
Yeah, I don't know if this one counts because it's not really jingoistic. It's not like based off of anything outside of in a grand finals, one player was being a lot more cocky and the other player was seemingly very like timid and like was, fighting for their best. And the person who was cocky was winning and was like popping off and being all crazy. This was at an NCR for Soul Calibur a long time ago, back when I knew nothing about Soul Calibur. And I was standing next to, of all people, of course, Sanchez and that crew over there. And we were all just like, we don't like this cocky pop-off guy. So we just started heckling him, and like we started
Was
going.
this at San Francisco State, NorCal? Regionals?
Yes,
I totally remember this, dude.
yeah. And
Yep.
then we were all like, and eventually, I think we got to him because the other guy ended up winning the tournament. So in a way, it's like you kind of feel like a jerk, but at the same time, like this is why, like, even though, you know, well, probably because I'm old school, this whole rivalry, this whole kind of like, you know, popping off and yelling and stuff like that, this is kind of a part of the culture that I do kind of want to preserve in a weird way. Like, obviously, I like trash talking. I don't want it to get into the point where we're talking smack about anybody. I mean, like, again, we weren't saying anything about the dude's appearance or anything like that,
Yeah.
but it was just more like, you know, oh, you dropped the combo, you know, kind of things like that.
In-game stuff, yeah.
Yeah, in-game stuff. So, you know, again, that's kind of like one of those things that's important to me as part of the fighting game community, but I don't consider that jingoistic, but we definitely, I feel like, affected the outcome of a match. So
I don't remember anybody doing anything that was too gnarly. To be honest.
no,
You know,
nobody did. Yeah, I mean, Sanchez
Not
was
that I
being
can recall.
Sanchez, right? Like,
Sure,
as
yeah,
much
I mean-
as much as Sanchez likes to talk smack and can be a total jerk to people, he's also really smart and, you know, has a kind of an understanding of morals and stuff like that. So
yeah, he's a very good guy.
yeah, I mean, there are definitely times where I'll be like, fuck Sanchez, but, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody's actually seen any of those videos at all out there, but, you know, no one was doing anything particularly gnarly.
Yeah, I don't
for
remember
sure.
anybody ever doing too big of a jerker move
Yeah,
when it comes to
yeah.
that kind of stuff. I mean, there were, you know, I saw fights or whatever, but it wasn't about like the region. It was whatever other stuff was going on. So
Yeah.
anyway, there you go.
Yeah. No, of course, best coast, beast coast, mid best, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, like that's about it, right? That's about as
Yeah.
far as it goes for the most part. And I think it's funny that other scenes think about SoCal as like having a rivalry with them like that. It just feels like it's like classic Lakers versus Clippers rivalry, where like historically Lakers fans didn't have a rivalry with Clippers fans.
Right.
But Clippers fans had a huge rivalry with
Yeah.
Lakers fans. Oh, they hated the Lakers. And Lakers fans are just like, oh, the Clippers exist? Like
I mean, it was very similar, right? Like, you know, when we were at UCLA, we were just like, yeah, okay, USC's always talking smack, whatever. But USC spent all their time being like, oh, UCLA sucks. Like, literally, like, my friends who had a wedding, it was USC themed, and, like, they were dogging, like, I just feel like, you know, UCLA, we just knew we were better, so we just didn't really care that much. So.
That was the 90s, man. And then when I was going to school in the 2000s, believe me, it was very much the opposite.
Yeah. Really? Was it?
Dude, USC was way better at sports than UCLA or Berkeley.
Yeah, for sports, yeah. But we were also.
So you're just being real jerks about which school's better. Okay.
Yeah, which school is better for sure.
Ooh,
No.
not nice.
The 4 years that I went to UCLA, we actually won all 4 years in a row for football. I was
Yeah,
there.
UCLA was really good.
Yeah, I was there when they won basketball. You know, they won the championship in the NCAA, and then we won all 4. I got lucky. I was like there in the exact same. I was in there in the perfect years for that. So yeah.
For Cal's main rivalry, we couldn't really do the Stanford sucks as a school. It just wasn't really much of an option. But at least when I was going to school there, we could say that their football team was worse. And then nowadays, and for many years at this point, sorry, Cal.
Oh man.
Tough school to be a fan of the sports teams of. All right. Let's move on to the next one here.
All right. So next question is from. Oops, who was this from? I forgot to copy who it was from. Where did I just totally missed it? I
think it was me. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no worries. It's fine. If you could see any existing fighting game reimagined in a different art style of your choice, what would you choose? I'll go first. I think Darkstalkers plus Alex Ahad style would be a match made in heaven. Skullgirl Sprite style.
That is Onyx. AHNIX. Oh, who actually is in the chat right now as well. Hello.
What is it? What's his name?
AHNIX.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
There you go. Oh, you went to UCSD where you had zero school spirit. Let me tell you, this is actually true. The reason that I went to Berkeley instead of to UCSD was I went to both when there happened to be school elections going on. And at Cal, it was so rowdy, and there were all these leaflets all over the place, and there were like protests going on and people arguing. And then I went to UCSD first, actually. And when I went there, nobody cared. Nobody cared about anything like that. And I wanted the gross, grimy school instead, so I went to Berkeley. That's literally the only reason I ended up going there. All right.
I'll be selfish. I wouldn't want Alex Sahad art style for Darkstalkers. I don't think they match particularly well. But if you're just saying a new Darkstalkers game in awesome, beautiful sprite work, yeah, obviously. But it's if you could see any existing fighting game reimagined in a different art style of your choice, what would you choose? And I think part of it said here too that Arxis style was forbidden because that's such an obvious answer, right?
Yeah,
like
too
everyone wants to see every game done in Arxis style. So I think that was a caveat in the question as well. So
I would choose oh man.
You know, I
have two answers and I'm trying to decide between the two. What's yours?
I have a weird one here. I would actually like to see, with the modern consoles and better memory and all that stuff like that, MVC2 brought back with everybody's animation frames back. Like, because if people don't realize, Children of the Atom and Marvel Superheroes are two of the most beautiful fighting games ever drawn. Like, the amount of animation frames for every character was ridiculous. And for MVC2, they couldn't do it because they had to have 6 characters in memory at all times. And so there were very few sprites. They cut 1 billion sprites, like Spiral's Metamorphosis, where she transforms into everybody. Every one of those characters was animated, like, and in MVC2, it's literally 1 frame for every character. They just show up and go plop, plop, plop. 1 frame, plop, plop, plop. And it's just like, it was not there. So if we could do an MVC2 and restore the old Children of the Atom and Marvel Superhero sprites, and maybe because obviously characters like, Cable and stuff who are made for that game, their animation is good because they knew they had the memory limitations in the first place. They were able to account for it. But even then, going back and adding animation frames for some of those characters as well to make them up to par with everybody else, I think that would be... And it's kind of weird because it's not reimagining in a different art style. It's just the same art style, but better.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can't choose between my two, so I'll just say both.
Yeah,
one is Mortal Kombat.
Go ahead, Tasty Steve.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Mortal Kombat in Street Fighter style. I am on record as wishing that Mortal Kombat didn't have the gore. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it.
Right. Okay.
And so I was just trying to decide, like, what other... If I can't say Arxis, which I would, it would be Arxis style. But if I can't say Arxis style, then I guess I'll just say Street Fighter V style. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have a Mortal Kombat game where I didn't have to, see all the murder and gore going on. Honestly, like, that would be great for me.
Please throw in contextualities for MK12.
Dude, right? Yeah, I'm playing Mortal Kombat very much despite that. I enjoy the gameplay enough that I put up with it, and I'm like inured to the stuff that's in MK11 at this point. But man, I really could do without it. So that would be nice. And then the other one is, my bad, NRS, is Injustice in Marvel 3 style.
Yeah.
I really love NRS games, as you guys know, but man, I would really love it if in Injustice, I don't really feel like the animations oftentimes impart superhero-ness to me. And I think Marvel 3 kills it when it comes to that. So I would love to see, like, a Grundy as Hulk, kind of like that kind of like extreme kind of situation. I would love to see that. I think that would be so cool.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, honestly,
please continue making great games, and you have great graphics in many ways, but like also can do without the gore, etc.
I've always said, it's like, when you watch Injustice, everybody kind of stands the same. Catwoman and Cheetah are hunched over a little bit more. But, like, when you look at Marvel and Wolverine is just like half the size because he's so squat, ready to attack. Spider-Man doesn't even stand like this. He's like all it's like super hunched over and stuff. And Doctor Doom is as stiff as can be, when he's walking around and stuff like that. Those are the kind of things that makes it feel comic booky and and superhero-y to me. So
Just
that would be
something
really
about the
cool.
way Hulk like smashes his fist down. Like that's how
Dude.
he would do it,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable enough about graphics and animation, etc., to like have a real reason why that is, but like, yeah,
It's
it
the
definitely
principles
looks
of
like it.
animation. Again, I
Yeah, I just
recommend
don't
it
know
all the
about it. Yeah.
time. Art Eater, Richmond Lee, has a beautiful article on why Darkstalkers is like the best animated fighting game of all time, and how it just absolutely does the best of the the principles of animation. Again, obviously something like Third Strike has more animation frames, but Third Strike is still, while it has the exaggeration, stretching and all that stuff, it's still grounded in reality. And so Darkstalkers just kind of gives them the ability to just go absolutely wild.
Yeah, I see people in the chat, and I totally get it. I know people play MK for the gore. I certainly understand. That's absolutely a big part of why it's an amazingly high selling series. Like no doubt about it.
I was
And
wondering,
if
like,
if that's why you play it, like man, I could imagine. Again, the real answer is we'd all love to see every game in current ArcSys styles. So if you're an MK fan who likes the gore, seeing that done in like a ArcSys style, maybe a little bit more realistic than a current ArcSys style, which they could probably do too. But they could probably do some really good gore if that's what you want.
I mean, honestly, I had suggested a long time ago that maybe they actually just release a PG version of Mortal Kombat, just make two, but just one, it would take too much work, and two, it just makes no
Yeah,
sense,
it
right?
makes no
People
sense.
would
Yeah.
laugh, they would get killed off of social media, honestly. Like social media would have a field day with that, honestly.
I mean, back
So
in MK9, you could play in a mode where there was no fatalities. You could play in zombie
yeah,
mode,
yeah.
and it was really rare to see an X-ray because they just typically weren't as effective spending your meter that way.
Yeah.
So you could mostly get by without seeing like a ton of gore. But in MK11, like you're gonna see a fatal most of the time, and even if you're not, you're gonna see a crushing blow, and those are pretty gnarly in some cases. And
Some of them are
yeah,
worse than the fatalities, I
yeah,
feel
dude, some of
like,
them are
dude.
pretty gnarly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, one of the things I want, so Super Kokujin, like honestly, Darkstalkers and Street Fighter have inspired a lot of artists. Like that's one of the coolest things about those games, is those games are the birth of many artists out there, and you can see that a lot in just like the history of like a lot of artists out there. And also Muffin Man's comment about turning everything to KOF 13. KOF 13 is kind of a tricky one. Now if you had infinite budget, infinite people to do it, right? So KOF 13, they had to remove a bunch of moves from people. It nearly bankrupt SNK, etc. They were a smaller company, they couldn't handle it. But at the same time though, because their strategy was to create 3D models and then turn them into sprites, that way, kind of like draw over the 3D models and turn them into sprites. KOF 13, while it is an absolutely beautiful game, you will never get me arguing that it's not, does lack a lot of the stretching and a lot of the exaggerations and smear frames and things like that from a Darkstalkers game. So if they could do that and combine it with that, where it's just like for no reason the guy's arm is just really long looking when they punch and stuff. But that's what's genius about Darkstalkers, right? Like Victor punches, his hand just grows to the giant size of the screen,
Yeah.
right? And then after, even in the recovery frames, you just see all the muscles dissipate and slowly
Yeah.
turn back into a normal size arm. Like that kind of stuff you can only do in Darkstalkers, honestly. So
All right, well, there you go. All right, we have done it again, everybody. Congratulations. It's a Tuesday show. Done and dusted once again. Please check out our coupon code UCTV at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping.
Exactly. And again,
And
last
like within
week.
the next like few days. If you
Yeah,
can.
exactly. This is the last week to do that, and we're very close to, having gotten a lot of coupon codes used, for, potential future collaborations. So again, thank you for those people who have used it, and thank you to those people who will use it in the next few coming days. So
Honestly, even on top of the fact that like some money would be nice, I just want to do more really silly ad reads. That was super fun. I loved all three of ours. They cracked me up. Like we got a lot of good feedback. It's just really fun to do.
yeah,
It would be nice.
absolutely. Why does somebody say I don't like Sakura? Actually, I don't really like Sakura, so never mind.
I will give Tubbo your well wishes. I hope he's
Yes,
doing well as
for
well.
sure, for sure. So,
See y'all.
peace.